Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Check out our podcast below in the description.
Okay, so we talked Robert Saleh, big opportunity this week. Another great showing for him against the Rams. After the game, Richard Sherman said that he was adamant, he has to get the Lions job. And it feels like we've gone back and forth. One thing I think you and I have always believed is like he will be a head coach. The question has just been, is this year going to be good enough for him to be a hot candidate? Will it take another year? And the fact that they keep hanging around, this defense patchworked as it is, has some big moments. And here's the other thing, John. You start checking out how many jobs could or are open. There are a good amount of jobs open. How many candidates are really going to be better than Robert Saleh? I don't know if he wants the Detroit job specifically, but it's trending back to him being a head coach in 2021.
Well, we're at 4 right now, and we're recording this on December 1st. I think the Eagles is probably going to come open. The Jets is for sure going to come open. I think the Bears are an opportunity. Like it's very easy to go from 4 to 7 or 8 quick, right? Before you even blink.
Is Dallas a possibility? Maybe a long shot. But
yeah, I would say it's not inconceivable. Listen, I love Richard Sherman, but he talked a little bit about it like we would a college job. Like, USC's got to make another run at Lane.
Del Rio.
Alabama's got to go after Dabo. Or
you got to get Del Rio at SC, John.
Yeah, Del Rio's the connections. Like, it doesn't work that way in the pros. I do think what he was saying, and one of the key things he said was, this guy's a leader of men. And the one thing I think that's clear in the league is a lot of these guys that have been fired. Bill O'Brien got fired because people hated his fucking guts. Patricia, it feels like no one liked him. Gase is going to get canned because people can't stand him. Dan Quinn was just a bad coach.
But he got extra chances because he was beloved.
Yeah, he got a lot of extra chances.
And we should mention Atlanta's open, but like you said on the last podcast, where it does feel like he might get that job, right?
And part of it feels like guys like Raheem. He's young. He's energetic. Let's see what Saleh is going for him. Yeah, Robert Saleh has been a huge part of the Niners' resurgence as a franchise. He's young and energetic. Players really like him. He interviewed last year for a job.
So his name's been in the cycle, and he's had the experience.
When you look at Jacksonville, if that comes open, he coached there, so they're going to know him. Detroit, I don't think it matters that he's from there, but like they just fired a coach that people didn't like, same with Houston. I had a league executive say to me he feels like it's a lock that he gets a job. And I think me and you the whole time just went, I think it's going to be hard for defensive coaches with the offensive firepower that the league is now. But when you just start looking at the number of openings, you go, because part of the problem last year was like McCarthy and Ron Rivera were really good candidates. They had both had one guy had won a Super Bowl, the other guy had been a Super Bowl. McCarthy, everyone's shitting on him now, but when he was hired, it felt pretty like a good hire, right? And Washington hiring Ron Rivera, I mean, he has him in first place. Like, I think if Ron Rivera was on the market this year, like let's say he had taken the year off, would you agree that Ron Rivera would be the number one candidate on the market, or one of them? Like he would get a job.
He'd be one. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
He would be. It would be hard for Saleh to get a job over Rivera or McCarthy, and those guys that guy doesn't exist. Because think of the guys that have been fired lately. Like Bill O'Brien ain't getting a job immediately. The Vance Josephs, the guys that got quick to get canned, McAdoo's, like those guys aren't getting other jobs. And there haven't been like a Zimmer or Pete Carroll type that is going to get fired this year. I think he might be a top 2 or 3 just leading. Like, is every one of these openings interviewing him? I would say yes. That to me is the key. Remember last year he only got like one interview.
He might be able to pick. Like, I'm not going to do 6 of these things, but here's a few that I think are good, right? Let me ask you this, because I know my answer. If you were an NFL GM hiring a coach, would you only interview offensive coaches?
I say it a lot, but think about it like that's the way. You can't think about life like that, to pigeonhole yourself in anything. It'd be moronic to operate like that, because you just look, well, who are some of the best coaches right now in the league? Belichick's the best, Pete Carroll, Mike Tomlin, so you'd be stupid. Ron Rivera's resurrected
John
immediately.
Harbaugh,
Washington.
Even like Matt Rule, I think Carolina's off to. He's not like anything.
He's a nothing. He's just a guy.
Defense,
yeah,
right?
He's a leader. Yeah, you would be stupid to not.
And some of the guys getting blown out are offensive. We thought at one point in time offensive gurus. Now I do think it's hard. Detroit specifically is tough because they just went defensive coach. Like I do think sometimes it's hard to go, especially defense back to back. Jacksonville, I don't. Maybe he's going to have his pick and he doesn't have to take that job, even though some would argue, well, they're going to have a lot of picks. They could have the number one pick. If you get Trevor Lawrence, do you want to go defensive coach, or do you feel like you've got to go best offensive coach available? That's a good question. I think they might have to lean offense. But, again, if your best candidate – it's funny the way we talk about this. If your best candidate is a defensive coach, shouldn't you just hire the best, especially if you feel good about who his offensive coordinator is going to be, right?
Which it feels like a lock to be either LaFleur or McDaniel, right?
Yeah.
You would think that one of those two
Niners
guys is going to be his combo.
Yep. Yeah.
And really, Kyle, there's a chance he loses both guys. LaFleur, remember, he wanted to go work for his brother. Kyle wouldn't let him. Like, it feels like he's inevitably going to end up in Green Bay with his brother. And then Mike McDaniel maybe goes with Robert Saleh. Again, I'm assuming they have a good relationship. Who knows? But a huge part of the Robert Saleh interview, if I like him, is, well, who's going to be your offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah. And GM Habey Habes, would feel better about a coach that comes in and is bringing an offensive coordinator that they know, as opposed to, oh, my agent connected me, I'm bringing in this guy. It's going to be really impressive, whoever that guy is.
Well, I'd say it clearly has less of a chance. It feels in recent memory, it's a lot of breakups that way. Like Sean McVay ended up firing Wade Phillips.
Yeah, the arranged marriages.
I think LaFleur, now that he has some juice, is going to probably get rid of Mike Pettin after this year. Clearly the arranged marriage, and this would have failed no matter what. Remember when Adam Gase got the job, you had to hire Greg Williams. Like, I don't want to do that. And I think part of the power of Kyle is he brought all of his own guys. And I think you keep doing, if Robert Saleh leaves, you keep hiring from within, going young. Belichick has made a killing. Andy Reid has done that for a long period of time. Elevated, made Doug a coach, made Matt Nagy a coach. Eric Bieniemy had fallen on hard times, got him up.
Frank Reich did. There were too many people ahead of him for him to really elevate, and he got a job and has done really well.
So it does. The thing with Robert Saleh, though, is he went 0 to 60 pretty fast. Like, he was a nobody. I'd say not a nobody. He was a defensive coordinator in the league, but he was not really in the mix his first 2 years as a Niner guy. Once they got good, it was clear, maybe just shed a stronger light that he was a good coach and people liked him.
And I think now you can kind of look back, right? We kind of know how to interpret his early years, and he's clearly a top-level defensive. Like, he's clearly going to be. To me, the question is just like, are teams who would really, you would think, like we talked about the Chargers and Urban, would the Chargers consider him and just go, look, I don't know. I mean, is he going to be the best candidate out there in terms of the way he interviews? The other thing, I think this could be a weird year. Is a big-time college coach going to jump this year?
Did we mention the Chargers? Like, that's a job that's coming.
Well, it's a great job, right?
Yeah.
Is a big time. It doesn't feel like this is a Lincoln Riley year. I don't know if it's a Matt Campbell year. It's kind of a weird year. I don't know. Maybe one of those guys would. College has been weird. Maybe it's an incentive for them to leave. But how about the Jets?
Doesn't it? If you had to go gut feel on Lincoln Riley, doesn't it feel like he's going to be at Oklahoma a decent amount of time?
I do. Yep, I do feel like.
I think he likes it. It's a great job. You consistently win. I think he can win a national championship there. I think if he did it right, maybe he thinks he could win a couple. Like, once he just breaks through and gets the right defensive guys, I could really do it. If he made himself available, would he be the number one candidate on the market by a mile?
Yeah, and then it's how much money would Jeffrey Lurie pay him?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just...
How about Joe Douglas and the Jets for Robert Saleh?
I think that makes a lot of sense. I had someone that had worked with Joe Douglas tell me that they thought, I said, what would be his ideal candidate? He said, think John Harbaugh. And not like just what he stands for. Leadership, toughness, taking the men into battle. He's a defensive special teams guy. Made his hay with Jim Johnson and the Eagles. When you see the Harbaugh family, they're all the same guy. And I think Robert has he's kind of more the millennial version. He's not a millennial, he's 41, but the younger version of that, because he is a tough guy, clearly.
Early 80s.
Yeah, so I would say he would be in the mix. I think the Chargers would be interested because Anthony Lynn is an offensive guy, right? I mean, he's a running back. They are an offensive operation. Really, the last Mike McCoy was, and it has just not worked.
But don't you think the one thing with
when they had success with Schottenheimer, like they just have a leader, you know.
But I see I watched Hard Knocks. Anthony Lynn does give me leader of men. Seems like he's that.
I'd say that's his best characteristic. Yeah. People like him.
So I do think if you're the Chargers, if we always talk about coaching jobs tend to be you do something different than what you just had, you do a little bit of an opposite. Maybe they're looking for more of a air quotes guru. I don't even know.
Someone told me when they hired Anthony Lynn, their two top candidates, and Tom Telesco, who just signed a new deal, he's going to stay. The other guy that he really loved was Brian Flores. And I just think Robert Saleh is just that type mold, right? That's kind of I think these GMs, because I think Robert Saleh is the best of both worlds. You can sell him to your franchise and your fan base as being like the leader of guys. And also, if you're a GM, he's not really that threatening. Because I don't think he's coming in like, give me the control. You know, he's in a weird way, and I don't mean this to diminish. He's kind of an easy hire for a lot of GMs.
Well, they might not have the leverage to throw that kind of weight around, right? If this team was coming off back-to-back Super Bowls, maybe he would then be the guy that can take total control.
Yeah,
but
Kyle.
I do think if you can argue like, look, Robert gets the Chargers job. This defense, look at the talent on this defense, right? This could be an incredible defense. I also think if you're, to me again, I'll go back. Dallas I would like him in Dallas. I'd consider him if I were Jerry Jones. They need just some edge.
What's your guess right now? Do you think Jerry Jones fires Mike? Because I don't really.
I felt like there were many.
It's been pretty quiet about it. You would think someone would have.
Should.
I do too.
No, you're probably right. Probably doesn't. I think the Jets feel. I would hate to see him go to Detroit just because that situation just feels hopeless to me.
An educated guess, I think he'd have a very, very good chance with the New York Jets to get hired. When you just look at the candidates,
I think it'd be a good hire.
I do too.
Yeah. Well, all right.
That's my guess right now. He's the New York Jets head coach.
I like that.